Now, on June 12, Nigeria celebrated 26 years of the return to democracy amidst claims of development from the government and critics pointing out flaws in our governance. This is Standpoint. I am Precious Amayu. All right, today we turn our spotlight on a defining milestone. That's 26 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. Since the return to civilian rule in 1999, how far have we really come? We'll be examining economic gains and setbacks, the evolution of our political landscape, and then the state of press freedom in a democracy that many fought hard to secure. Now let's also look at the
midterm scorecard, highlighting the challenges, prospects, and opportunities while committing to the implementation of the Renewed Hope agenda.
This July, we will launch a bold new initiative to empower 400,000 young Nigerians, including youth corpers, with consumer credit. We are committed to giving more opportunities to young people through job creation and skill development. Through such programs as Nigeria Education Fund, NEL Fund, we are investing in education and in the greater future of our country. Vocational training, apprenticeship, and entrepreneurship to ensure that our youth are job-ready and future-ready.
From GDP growth to successes recorded with the Credit Corps, NEL Fund to bridging the digital divide, President Bola Tinubu also talked about expectations from the tax reform bills when it is signed into law.
To further underpin our economic vision, we introduced a competitive tax reform package, a vital component of our economic re-engineering. I am deeply grateful to both chambers of this House for your thorough consideration and deliberation of these bills. And I look forward to signing them into law soon. Our administration is fully committed to boosting the economy and productive base through investment in critical infrastructure, roads, expansion of port operations, rail, and power. We are creating a new environment in which industry and manufacturing can thrive.
One major highlight was President Bola Tinubu's response to critics that say his administration is gradually pushing Nigeria into a one-party state. President Bola Tinubu also mocked opposition political parties over their lack of coordination.
For me, I would not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray.
The national honors bestowed on deserving individuals that worked for the actualization of the June 12 mandate also raised President Bola Tinubu's approval ratings, particularly the recognition of Professor Humphrey Nwosu and Ken Saro-Wiwa.
All right, you're watching Standpoint. That was the president at the National Assembly in a joint address to both chambers on June 12. We're going to examine all of that and where we are in our democracy in just a moment, but we'll take a break now and return.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are a long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyinbo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call permanent solutions.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe it's achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking
news. Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet, sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Community Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Well, thanks for staying with us, by the way. You're watching Standpoint, and we're looking at 26 years of unbroken or uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria. The president did give a speech on Thursday at it was a joint address to both chambers of the National Assembly. In that speech, or in that almost an hour-long event, if not more, we also saw that the president conferred national honors on some individuals, and so, some of them were journalists. Some of them still alive, some of them, dead. And it brought again the importance of the fourth estate of the realm in our democracy. And that's why we're going to speak now to the man who is maybe the supervisor and the coordinator of all journalists in the country today. He is the national president of the National Union, Nigeria Union of Journalists, and that's Mr. Chris Isiguzo. He joins us from, he joins us from our Abuja studio. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me, but I'm no longer the president of NUJ. I've handed over to a new leadership. I am now the president, Congress of African Journalists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations on the new position as well. But I want to start with the president's speech. His 26 years of uninterrupted democracy. What did you make of that speech? Did it engender any sort of hope in you as a journalist?
Well, again, thank you. I listened just like every other Nigerian living in Nigeria and Nigerians abroad to the address of Mr. President to the National Assembly. And clearly from the 45-minute speech, Mr. President was able to give an overview of what his administration has looked like, and also took time to trace the genesis of what has now become Democracy Day, which is being marked on June 12th. We know what happened in 1993, which of course has heralded the fact that we are now celebrating or marking Democracy Day instead of May 29th, which is the handover day. We're doing that on June 12th, which stands out as a day democracy was practically turned upside down. And finally, we are marking 26 years of unbroken democracy. So in the president's speech, no doubt, he took time to give an overview to this. And of course, his administration in the past 2 years. As a journalist, I wouldn't say that one is disappointed, but is one overly excited? One may not also be overly excited because the journey to El Dorado is a continuous journey. It's a work in progress. In the past 2 years, I must say, Mr. President has demonstrated the high level of commitment, determination. He has shown that he prepared himself for this position in spite of the avalanche of challenges that he met in office from day one. He's been able to confront them as a general, so to speak, who is undaunted by the preparation of the opposing camp. So he has demonstrated high level of commitment to leadership. We may not have got to where we desire to be, but definitely we have left where we used to be. We know what the economy looked like in 2023, May 29th, at the assumption of office of Mr. President. And we also know what it is today. Yes, at some point, we had inflation trying to jump over the roof. But like Mr. President said, it is gradually trickling down. It's gradually coming down.
And Mr. Esimo, if I may come in here, the point you're making now is what a lot of people were quite confused about when it comes to that speech. They were not sure if it was a Democracy Day address or if it was a political manifesto or if it was a State of the Nation address. It had a mix of everything. And they felt like it didn't speak to our democracy as it should have done, and not necessarily to what his administration was doing. Also, others also felt like, look, it should have also addressed the challenges facing Nigerians, at this moment. And I also just want to get your thought on all of that. If you felt that in terms of addressing where we are in our democracy, that it did hit the mark.
Well, I am not going to talk about whether he succeeded in hitting the mark or not. But the fact is that you cannot talk about democracy without talking about where we are at the moment. And if there is one man that is the helms at this moment, is the president. And this will be the first time that the president will be giving a State of the Nation address, not necessarily a broadcast. He was at the National Assembly, peopled by representatives of every constituency in Nigeria, 360 of them, and of course the senatorial zone, 109 of them in Nigeria. So he was practically standing face to face with Nigerians. If we are 250 million, as we claim to be at the moment, then we were represented in that hall, at that assemblage of members of the National Assembly, and the president was addressing them. So you cannot completely talk about June 12th and you wipe away the things that have been done in the past 2 years. The president took one stone to kill several birds. He talked about democracy, yes, and he took time to honor people that made sacrifices. He may not have taken all of them at once. He assured that the list is endless, that he was going to still honor more people. So he took time to honor people that some of them have paid the supreme price, some made enough more sacrifice that has led us to where we are today. So he took time to honor them. You know, most of them are also in the administration of today. He also was able to identify and celebrate them. And he took time to tell us what he has been doing in the past 2 years. So he used one stone to kill several birds, because he was not going to have every opportunity to begin to address us. But that was a unique opportunity that he had. And the best he could do was to take time one by one to explain what his administration has been like in the area of security, in the area of the economy, and he also would not shy away from politics, because in the next 2 years, we are going for another election. So this is more like a midterm report for his administration. Look at where we are at the moment, and look at where we intend to be. Look at how he tried to address the issue that has practically gone viral across the minds, the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, the issue of the steady movement to a one-party state. Mr. President took time to address it. And as a Democrat that we've known him to be, he also was able to make it very clear that his administration was not driving to that. But at the same time, you are not going to equally stop people who desire to belong to a particular political camp. You cannot stop them, because doing so will be impugning on their right to freedom of association, violating their right to freedom of association. So I wouldn't say that he may have hit a particular mark. Yes, people have different intentions. It's like when you go to see the elephant, 10 blind men that went to see the elephant, if you touch the leg, it looks like Hiroko 3. You touch the trunk, it gives you a different description. You touch the back, it gives you a different description. So Mr. President came up with different aspects of our national life, of our democratic life. Right. It is not left for every Nigerian to settle where he desires to settle and make his own conclusions and deductions from that perspective.
I want to talk about, the sector that you operate in, which is the fourth estate of the realm, the press. How well would you also say that we have fared in this democracy? Again, in the last 2 years, some say, look, it would seem that the repression, there's more repression now. There are some journalists who have been jailed, maybe not in this administration, maybe previous one, but they were expecting some release or pardon for them, but none of that has happened. How do you also react to that?
Well, for me, I don't think we have. Now, I want to go back to the issue of hitting the mark, like you said. I don't think, in terms of media freedom, that we have hit the mark yet. No, because we cannot hit the mark when we are clocking 122 out of 180 nations in the world that have been assessed by Reporters Without Borders. At the assumption of office in 2023, Nigeria ranked 123. 123 when you look at the World Press Freedom Index. Now, in 2024, we made more like a quantum leap. We scored 112. And now we are 122. And that is a movement from what we were in 2022 when we scored 129. But what it means is that we are hovering within the same range. And that is not a good one at all. Because there are critical elements that would substantially guarantee press freedom. Those elements, we don't seem to have effectively tackled them. Until we do so, we cannot say that the media in our climb is operating freely. You cannot operate freely when the regulatory agencies at every point in time is trying to draw you back. You cannot talk about press freedom when the media itself has no law today that protects the practitioners. If you go through our constitution from the first page to the last page, there is nowhere in that document that a law has been put that protects the media. Not one. Oftentimes, we make reference to Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, but that section of the Constitution has not protected the media. It has rather sent the media on an errand. You've got to ensure that there is accountability in governance. If we're going to have good governance, if we're going to have transparency in the system, that the media must have to live above board. Ensure that. But it is akin, like I always say, to sending somebody to go and catch a lion with bare hands. It is going to be clearly difficult, you know. So there's no law. We must begin to deliberately, we must put it together. The stakeholders, when you talk about the stakeholders, the Nigerian Press Organization, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Guild of Editors, the Guild of Corporate Online Publishers, Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, and the rest of them come together.
But Mr. Esiguzo, before we begin something. Before we begin to look at the solutions, because I think that it is also telling that it is in the life of this administration that we have moved, dropped significantly to 10 places. We have moved from 112 to 122. What would you say is responsible for that drop? Because, moving up was significant for us, but going back down is just worse.
You know, well, thank you very much. I want us to have this at the back of our mind. At the assumption of office, Mr. President inherited a ranking that placed us on 123. That was in 2023. And today, we are 122. In 2024, we were 112, within the live 2-year mark of the administration. We jumped 9 places, and we went back again. Now, I'm going to tell you why. We have the Cybercrime Prohibition Act of 2015, which has been reviewed, amended in 2024. As we speak, we know of a number of media practitioners that have been incarcerated, that have been arrested, that have been harassed, intimidated on account of this piece of legislation, which in itself is not, if you go through the letters and the spirit of that legislation, they don't conform with the letters and spirit of democratic governance. They don't conform with the letters and spirit of good democracy. And the political actors, the politicians, political office holders at the end have tried to manipulate this piece of legislation to their own advantage. And every journalist, once you spew a little thing, they grab you. And if you take a record of what the number of people that have been caught in the web of this, on account of this piece of legislation, between 2024 and date, there are so many. We saw a group of journalists that were clamped in detention, thrown to jail in Lagos on account of publications they have made via their online platforms. So instead of politicians trying to understand that democracy is about the people, and democracy is about free expression, they would rather clamp down on people who want to put them in the gauge to weigh them. They don't want to be weighed. And that's why the thing jumped from 112 to 122 and may continue to jump higher. We must have to come to that.
Just hold on. But I want to bring in Mr. Said Ajadi, who is a political analyst, policy analyst, to join the conversation. But I will come back to you and ask you the question I want to ask you, Mr. Esiguzo. But I just want to bring, recognize that Mr. Said Ajadi has joined the conversation, and he's joining us via Zoom. Mr. Ajadi, thank you so much for joining in.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I'll put you on hold, Mr. Ajadi. I just want to follow up on what Mr. Isiguzo said, and then I'll bring you into the conversation. Mr. Isiguzo, you were talking about those who have been arrested, journalists who have been arrested. Wouldn't it have been more significant if the president had, he honored some journalists, but whilst he was doing that, to also say for every journalist who have been arrested, because of this piece of legislation you mentioned, he's ordering, if not an investigation, but maybe a pardon or a release, whilst investigation is ongoing, that would have at least spoken to the very depth of our democracy, much more than just recognizing. Of course, that was important, but doing both would have carried more weight. Do you agree?
Well, I don't disagree with you. But because the president said something, that's why I've decided not to take that route yet. The president said the list is not exhausted yet. He made it clear that he announced some people and he said that it's a continuous process. So we are looking at a situation where the presidency is going to come up with perhaps a comprehensive list in the coming days, of either honoring people or pardoning people as the case may be. Because we also saw a number of people that were pardoned, like the Ogoni 9, So we expect that the president is going to, keep to his words, which is we are going to release more lists of people that are going to be pardoned. So we expect that when this is done, in the spirit of this celebration of democracy, 26 years, unbroken democracy, that we are going to also take time to ensure, because there is no way you can talk about democracy and you ignore the very oxygen that powers democratic governance, the very air that democracy breathes in order to survive, and that is the media. So you cannot talk about we are making progress when the media in itself is not making progress. It is said that democracy dies in darkness. So democracy cannot flourish in a room that is very, very dark. This place is lit up, democracy can survive. So what it means is that for democracy to survive, you must have a functional media that is not put in a pigeonhole, media that is not restrained from its operation. So we expect that in the coming days, Mr. President is going to do that. If he had done that day, that would have been nice. But let us not draw a conclusion. Let's not draw the curtain on it. There are still opportunities that the president would, take advantage of in ensuring that every facet of our national life, of our democratic life, is carried along in this celebration of democracy. So, like I said, El Dorado is not a destination. El Dorado is journey in progress, work in progress.
Mr. Isiguzo, we're going to go on break now, and when we return, we'll be speaking to both you, and then we'll bring in Mr. Ajadi into the conversation as well. Everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm Miriam Lunge. I'm a passionate environment advocate and a published author.
I am the founder of Celebration, a businesswoman, and a fashion icon.
I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer.
I am Amako Arakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Warhaka. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.
I am a polymath and a serial entrepreneur.
I am Murayo Afolabi Brown, Managing Director, TVC Entertainment. I'm a media consultant, producer, and broadcaster.
The ladies of your view are made of women from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
All right, thanks for staying with us. We are still looking at the democracy in Nigeria's 26 years of uninterrupted democracy. And we've been speaking with the former NUJ president, Chris Isiguzo, who is joining us from our studio in Abuja. And then we're also joined now by Saheed Ajadi, who is a policy analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. Let me turn my attention to you, Mr. Ajadi. I mean, you are a policy analyst. You probably looked at that speech from the president's speech from a different lens. I also want to get your reaction to that speech and what you made of it.
Thank you for having me once more, and good afternoon, Nigerians. Well, from a democratic point of view, I feel that the president has acted immensely well because he addressed several issues, like the journalist said earlier. He addressed several issues in going by the substance of Nigeria and how far we have gone with our democratic rule. We have to know that we have actually come a long way compared to where we were 90. Some of us fought for the of us lost our lives in the struggle. Some friends that were in the forefront in the battle in Ibadan lost their lives. May their soul rest in peace. And the president has honored democracy by giving honors to some people, journalists, and even don't fight for their lives. That's us. Nobody has ever recognized them. Nobody has ever recognized doing that honor. Nobody has ever recognized Femi Falana. We saw nobody has recognized even Ken Sariwa and only people. And I'm sure the South will be very glad that the president, for me, as the leading president. So we, as governors, we have to be to
All right, Mr. Jadi's network seems to be breaking there. We're just going to try to reconnect with him. We seem to have lost connection. But we'll get back to Mr. Isiguzo now in Abuja. We're speaking as to the issues around journalism and press freedom in Nigeria, especially in terms of our democracy. Because a lot of people will say, Mr. Isiguzo, that that's where we are really, really lacking. That we seem to, even, well, to an extent, there is an improvement in some indices. But for press freedom, we have really not made any significant move. Are you engaging? How are you engaging with this government to ensure that there is some level of freedom? We know that some journalists, overreach, quite all right. But for those who do not, that enjoy some level of freedom in doing their job.
Well, if you recall, sometime in 2022, 2022, the National Assembly had come up with some bills. One amendment to the Nigerian Press Council Act, and of course the NBC Act, and of course the cyber. We have the one on Social Media Regulation Act bill. And if you recall, at the level of Nigerian Press Organization (NPO), we practically shut down the media space when we expressed our dissatisfaction, our clear opposition to such bills. And we had a series of engagement with the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, the government, the executive, and along the line, they had to suspend those bills. In terms of engagement, the key stakeholders in the media industry, we are not lagging behind because we understand what it means for democracy to survive. It cannot thrive in the absence of a free media. It's difficult. So we have continued to sustain our engagement. And to further demonstrate our commitment to this, we came up with a more like a co-regulatory body, Nigeria Media Complaints Commission, which we put in place, which is more like a co-regulatory body. Because if you come to this organization, which we call the National Ombudsman, it's peopled by members of the Nigerian Press Organization, NPO. You have Mr. Izeze there. You have Mrs. Eugenia Abu, who, of course, you know very well. And we have representations from the academia. We have Professor Stella Okuna, who is a member of the National Ombudsman. We also have representation from the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. We have representation from the government, the House of Representatives, the federal government. They are represented there. Well, it may not necessarily be an organization, a body of law, but to some extent, the body is also helping to moderate activities of the media, in the country. Instead of coming up with a law that substantially ties the hands and legs of the media, we felt that before we come to an agreeable level where the government, the media stakeholders would agree on the kind of law we want, let us have something that moderates the media landscape. So that in itself is also our own way of engaging, because we cannot just allow the system to operate, to be on autopilot without any control.
Mr. Because I'm going to have to put you on hold.
We have also studied laws in other countries.
Let me put you on hold. I'll come back to you on that in terms of looking at the laws in other countries and how we can, implement it, adapt some of them and localize in Nigeria as well. But I want to understand that we've reconnected with Mr. Jardine now. He's back into the conversation. We're speaking to the president's speech and what you made of it just before we lost connection with you.
Yeah, that job by combining sets of Democrat past issues with and then analyze that.
All right, we seem to still be struggling with your audio, Mr. Jadi. We'll again try to reconnect. We understand that it can really be bad at times, especially when there are weather issues like we have now. It's been raining all day if you live in Lagos. But I want to turn back to Mr. Isikuzo in our Abuja studio. I will let you finish your thought now in terms of laws in other countries when it comes to press freedom that we can adapt and or adopt and localize.
Okay, like I was saying, if you go to Ghana, which is our close-door neighbor, it's very clear in their constitution. If you go there and look at the people who man the press council, they are mainly practitioners, professionals in the industry themselves. It's not just about government appointees. No, the stakeholders, like we have in Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Press Organization. Why can't we have our people man these strategic regulatory institutions? You have the Nigerian National Broadcasting Commission. We have the NBC. You have the Nigerian Press Council. It can be peopled by professionals belonging to this NPO. It has become very, very necessary that we do that. If you go to Malawi, we have the same thing. And in fact, across other countries of the world, we cannot have the media completely managed by political actors appointed by the nation's president. The key stakeholders must be involved. That is the only way we can moderate. We can have a regulatory institution or regulatory institutions that would operate in tandem with democratic principles. Until we do that, we will still continue to make 10 steps forward, 100 steps backwards. We will achieve nothing. Thank God if you go to the National Ombudsman that we have put in place, a whole lot of people have taken advantage of that. We have a case in point where even the Ministry of Information, Federal Ministry of Information, brought a report to us over activities of a particular media house, and it's been taken care of at that level. That way, we also reduce, issues around litigations. Litigations that we can easily control at the level of engagement. That's why if you look at those in the legal practice, they have what they call alternative dispute resolution process or mechanism. We can adopt it in the industry, engage, so that to a large extent we reduce these issues around clamp down, harassment, intimidation, and incarceration and all that. We can control it through alternative dispute resolution mechanism. That's exactly what we have introduced in the National Media Complaints Commission. And I can tell you it is working.
But I am particularly even interested in, or more in, those who have already been arrested. In fact, some have gone missing for years, and no word as to their whereabouts. And what the NUJ has been doing, because it's taken years, and why you have not been able to at least get some credible information about the whereabouts of these individuals, or at least secure a release.
I didn't get that.
I was asking why it is taking such a long time for the NUJ to at least secure a release of some of these individuals who have been arrested. It's been years, for some of them as much as 5 to 6 years, or at least get credible information as to their whereabouts.
Well, I must tell you, in the course of this conversation, I did talk about the 5 journalists that were incarcerated in Lagos prison. A journalist from Kwara, in fact, a broadcaster from Kwara, another reporter with the state newspaper. We have one from Ogun. About 5 of them, and of course Lagos. It is still NUJ that intervened, to get them out after staying there for a couple of months. We had to engage with the authorities, and they were out. We also have a good number of our colleagues that have been, either abducted from their quote unquote from their homes, taken to unknown places. We also engaged. It's not just Nigeria Union of Journalists. We work together. This is about the first time in a long while that the MPO has become so strong, because the strength of such body is unity of purpose. The strategic institutions that make up the MPO, the Nigerian Press Organization, like I said earlier on, the NUJ, the Guild, the GOCOP, the MPAN, and of course we are bringing Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria on board. We come together. That way we'll be able to assert our authority. Now, I can assure you that any case that has come to the NPO or to the National Ombudsman is treated with dispatch. It's not allowed to delay. So except the one we haven't known about. So for the ones we know, I tell you that the organization is taking it very seriously, and there's no way we allow people to remain in detention on account of the way their practice, that has to do with their day-to-day activities. That's what I'm limiting, what we are doing where it is limited, So we are doing a whole lot in that regard. Yeah.
So if you speak to every or any journalist in this country today, which I know that you are very aware of, they will tell you that it's been a very difficult balancing act to try and be the voice of the government and the voice of the people, because at the end of the day, sometimes you get yourself in trouble and muddled up, where you say, oh, this is what the people are thinking, and then you could get harassed for it. And then if you say, but this is what the government has said, people say, oh, you're biased. And so it's been a very difficult balancing act. How do we get to the point to make people understand that that's the job of the media, to the go-between, almost like the mediator between the government and the people, without being harassed and without being called or labeled biased?
That's why in the course of this conversation, I did say that the political actors sometimes don't seem to understand the role of the media, the functions of the media, and at the same time, the people, the larger mass, don't also understand the role of the media. We are all institutional partners. It's not like the intent of the Constitution is not that the media should remain perennial antagonists to government. No. the media is not going to be a perennial antagonist. If there are areas the government, those at the helms, have also done good things, it is also the incumbent on the media to say so. Where things are not done right, it is also the media that will communicate it. The media is more like the middleman, serving both the governed and the government. Whatever the government is doing, the media gets it to the people. However the people are feeling, the media equally takes it to the government. That is the role of the media, like you said, is the middleman. You know, is not working for A or for B. The essence of the media is to ensure that there is a same climb for every dictum and Harry to dwell in, without one suffocating, so to speak, the other. That is exactly what the media is doing. Ensure that you communicate rights, not necessarily negatives. You can also communicate positives, achievements. Where they have not been able to meet up with expectations, it is also the media that must highlight it. It is the media that must amplify it. These things have not been done right. Without the media, there is nothing in place. You know, and if the media decides to now work for the government, the people will suffer. And the bedrock of democracy is the people. At those days at the primary or secondary school, they say democracy, government of the people, for the people, by the people. So everything about democracy, the beginning, the ending, is the people. So if you remove the people from democracy, then it is not democracy. And the very air that democracy breathes to survive is the media. That is what propels democracy. That is what gives life to democracy. And that is it. So yes, sometimes it comes to us, some people, you will not neither please government nor the people. We experience that. But
Mr. Simiso, I have 5 more minutes left, and I want to try and throw in at least...
Because it is said, soldier comes, soldier goes, barrack remains.
Mr. Simiso, I have about 5 minutes left. I want to try and throw in 2 questions before we wrap. Let's just have like a moment of self-reflection, because as a journalist, there's a certain level of decorum that is expected from you. I've met people who I didn't know them, but when I heard them speaking, I'm forced to ask if they are journalists because they embody the culture and the character of the profession. Do you think that to an extent we have also brought this, a part of this, on ourselves in terms of how we have sensationalized news and news reporting?
It is said that the way you dress is the way you will be addressed. If you dress like a madman, you'll be treated like a madman. So the media must ensure that it doesn't also reduce itself to a drummer. To a drummer that beats, when people gather, you just beat drum for them. No. So that is why I will always make reference to the NPO. The last time we reviewed the code of ethics for practitioners was in 1998. And by 2021, 2022, we also came together to review it. As we speak, the final copy, I'm not sure, is out yet. But we say that there must be, apart from the code of the code of ethics, we must also have Bill of Rights. So that while we expect the journalists to operate like this, there will also be requirements from the media entrepreneurs, the media owners. They must have their own responsibilities. What they owe the practitioners is not just about, overburdening the practitioner. You must properly equip that practitioner so that you will practice without giving room to mercantile considerations. Each time you talk about journalists, you see people talk about brown envelope and all that. No, we should operate beyond that. You know, media should not, media reportage or what we produce should not be tainted with, parochial considerations, sentiments, mercantile interests, pecuniary interests. We should go beyond that. So I agree with you. Just like in any profession, you would always see the people that are, they don't operate, in line with the rules. It is everywhere. That is why, as a union, we have continued to, stress on training and retraining programs, capacity building programs. We have been doing it, and the present administration under my successor in office, Alassane Yahya Abdullahi, has also sustained that. They are churning out a whole lot of training programs.
I have like a minute more, Mr. Isiguzo. Apologies. Again, I have to butt in because I have now just like a minute, and I want to ask this question on what more we can do. Because I was just at a lecture where the former Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, was speaking, and he talked about how to cut corruption in the judiciary in I think it was in Lagos State, one of the things they did was to improve on the welfare of judges, and then also ensure that there were consequences for actions. And that really helped in reducing corruption. What more can we do to ensure that there is press freedom? We enjoy press freedom in Nigeria.
No, I didn't get that question, please.
I was asking what more we can do as a country to ensure that, the press freedom is entrenched in our democracy.
Yeah, I said it from the beginning. We must have the necessary legislations that protect the media. The National Assembly, working hand in hand with the media, must come up with the Media Enhancement Bill. We have tried it before, and this bill didn't go on because the big men in the industry stopped, they breathed on it to the point that it couldn't survive. So we must be conscious and deliberate about it.
All right.
Once we have the Media Enhancement Bill passed by the National Assembly, assented to by Mr. President, we'll be able to check these issues.
All right.
We will see the lines, draw the lines, so that nobody
I'm afraid we do have to leave it
line.
there. We're out of time. I wish we could expand more on that, but thank you so much for your time. Former NEJ President, you mentioned your new position. I just wanted to mention it once again. I don't want to forget it.
Well, the President of Congress of African Journalists.
Thank you. The President of the Congress of African Journalists. I'm not a part of that one. I'm going to boss you soon, so I can be a part of that one. Thank you very much, Mr. Chris Isiguzo. A pleasure to have you on.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. All right, that's that standpoint this week. Remember, you can watch the repeat broadcast at 11 p.m. tonight and